what's the evolution of your training? How did that evolve over the years? Because I remember you were doing something with Layne Norton back. We're talking when he put out those videos, and it was like the power hypertrophy adaptive training. You guys were doing the upper lower split. Is that similar to what you're doing now, or has it evolved since then as far as the structure and exercise selection? And obviously you're older, so what does that look like now? Are you still hitting body parts twice per week? Like how does that look?
I still think, especially as a natural bodybuilder, you need to hit a body part every 3 to 4, 3 to 5 days, right? I don't like the once a week. I just don't feel like I make any progress there. So for me, it's all about training frequency. I will say I don't really put as much emphasis on the structure that I used to do. I've trained a lot with Doug and even with people like Brian. And what I've noticed is that the best athletes are the most consistent in the gym and their sets are intense. But on any given day, that intensity might be heavier weight or it might be more reps. And I think after 30 years of training, I'm very in tune with my own body. And my number one priority right now is not how much weight I lift, but how good I feel the day after. I am not interested in getting hurt. There are days I go in the gym and I warm up on a deadlift and I feel my lower back's a little tight. Done. I'm done. I'll go over and do leg curls. I'll do 45-degree hypers. I'll do stiff-legged deadlifts, but I am done with that for the day. Whereas 15 years ago, if it was deadlift day, you'd be damned. I'll put on some icy hot. I'll put on an extra belt. I'll do something to get that deadlift set, right? That's what training with me and Layne looked like. It was literally like pound your body into submission training. And I think me and Layne are both smarter than that now. You know, I still train with Layne quite frequently. Neither of us are avoiding that day where we need to take a day off. He's even said like there's days where he's supposed to go to the gym, he just doesn't go. And I'm the same way. Like I think time teaches you what's important. You could argue like, okay, the bro split or the one body part a day, that's what Doug does. I find if I just train once a week, I'll hang on to muscle. I don't feel as strong consistently. Whereas if I'm hitting a body part twice a week, if I'm consistent, I'm constantly able to push the same or just a little bit more weight, even after 30 years. So I think I have the principles of power hypertrophy in my head, but I'm not afraid to just do the same damn workout over and over if it's feeling good.
Okay, I see. In terms of what you just mentioned, as far as, okay, if it's supposed to be a quote unquote heavy day, well, maybe you're not going to do that. Maybe you're going to do the reps instead and make it a higher rep day. Like you're not following this rigid, okay,
right,
2 heavy days, 2 or 3 pump days. You're not doing it with that structure anymore.
No, and in fact, like if I go, like today, I'm going into doing back, I kind of always warm up with pull-ups now. But if I go and I start doing a rowing movement and it feels good, I might be like, okay, today's the day I'm going to go really light on the warm-ups and I'm going to put on 4 plates on that low row. Otherwise, if it's like I'm putting a plate on there and I'm already feeling tight, okay, today's the day where we do 2.5 plates and we just focus on a full 3-second contraction and a 2-second eccentric and just really get a lot of blood in there. And sometimes those are the best workouts. Listening to your body, it's almost like I have to let go of the ego of lifting. And I think sometimes I would put pressure on myself. I'd be like, okay, I've got to bench 315 today. I don't feel that way anymore. The only thing that matters to me is how I feel walking out of the gym and how I feel the next day. I want to be able to pick up my kids. I want to be able to sit in my chair at work. You know, an injury nowadays is just so detrimental for my like well-being.
Of course. And I think there's too much value there to extract, even for people who are younger that might want to start adopting that now. Because like you mentioned, you'd be going almost like it's like a war zone with you and Layne back 15 years ago. I wonder if you had adopted this 15 years ago. Look, at the end of the day, you're good. You came out the other side after 15 years, but still, it's something worth considering, even someone who's younger.
So like Layne hasn't been as lucky, you know, he's torn a pec, he's had some disc issues. You know, I traveled to Australia with him one year and the guy could barely even walk. That's down to his stubbornness. You know, Layne was like, I'm going to outwork my limitations. And I think now he's kind of backed off that to a degree. I think with powerlifting, the injury rate is 100% because you're ultimately going to be working with loads so close to your 1 rep max, the risk of injury goes up extremely. So even if you don't get hurt all the time, the likelihood goes way up. Whereas like, you know, when I train with Doug, he trains so intensely, but it's a lot less likely that you're going to get hurt on a leg press set of 30 reps, doing a drop set for another 30 reps. Those types of things are more endurance, whereas you're not putting the stress on your ligaments and your joints where injury becomes an issue. So yeah, that's why I think as long as I've known Doug, I've never known him to have a serious injury. I've known he's had a couple tweaks,
right?
But Layne, you know, Layne pretty consistently when I see him, yeah, my pec's a little tight. Yeah, my hamstrings sore. Yeah, my back's sore, but he's still, you know, trying to be a world and still is a world-class power lifter. So there's a little bit of differences there. And that's kind of one of the things that I've always loved about Doug is like, he did things his way. He still does them his way. He didn't follow the trends. Whereas like, you know, I was definitely jumping in with Layne doing like HIIT cardio, powerlifting. I was doing all the trendy things.
Yeah.
I think I've come back to realize I don't love those things. I did them because I thought they were going to help, but really just going to the gym every day or every couple days a week is really what I love. I've just taken the pressure off myself. And honestly, like the training intensity per set, like when I watch somebody at the gym and I see them doing their lat pull downs, you know, and I'm like, the difference between someone like myself who has a lot of experience and I probably look a little bit different with my shirt off than most people, that's the difference. It's that I know how to train. I get the most out of every set. So I can spend the same 60 minutes at the gym as most people and get twice as much out of it just because I've really learned how to contract the given muscle that I want to train. I know what intensity looks like and feels like, and I also know when to go home and eat. If I could go back and, you know, give my 18-year-old self some advice, that's what it would be. It would be just focus on a few key things. Don't follow the trends.
Oh, interesting. That mindset. We were just talking about how with Layne, like, or even you in the past, didn't matter what, if it was this day, you did it, even regardless of how maybe you felt, how your body felt. But do you think as someone who at that elite level, like someone like Doug or even Brian or even Layne, that mindset is required to an extent?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at what separates them from other people outside of the genetic component, and I would say Layne's genetics, although they've proven to be acceptable, were far from like, you know, ridiculous. I think mindset is a huge part of the success for that unwavering, I'm going to do this mindset. I've had the fortune of spending a lot of time with a lot of exceptional people, and that's definitely something you notice. Honestly, like, don't tell Layne I said this. I've said it to him. I'm just half joking because of his ego.
Yeah.
Meeting Layne and getting to know him when I did, because I was in my early 30s, I had a nice career. I was very comfortable in life. Meeting somebody who was younger than me and hungrier than me and doing more than me, it lit a fire because I'm competitive by nature. And I was kind of like, fuck, I can do this. I can be stronger. I can be better. I can be smarter. Like it kind of lit a fire in me. So like, yeah. And then Doug's the same way. If you spend a week with Doug, you are going to be a better human being for it. What you see is what you get. He is just hardworking all the time. He does the right thing, makes the hard decisions, works, and doesn't compromise. And so those traits you see amongst successful people, and I think the natural bodybuilding world is full of them. That's one of the things I've noticed. You know, you look at all the 3D muscle journey guys, you look at somebody like Eric Helms, who when I first met Eric was we were all just kids messaging on a bodybuilding.com forum. And, you know, look at the success that a lot of us have gone off to have. And, you know, we kind of have the same roots. So I definitely have noticed that the natural bodybuilding world tends to have a lot of successful people. And I think the trait that I think is most necessary is delayed gratification.
That makes sense. Even from a building your physique standpoint.
If you apply the same principles that you apply to natural bodybuilding to anything in your life, you're going to be good. You're not going to get a PhD or a master's degree tomorrow, but you can start putting the foundations in today. You're not going to be rich tomorrow, but you can start building your financial security. You're not going to play guitar tomorrow. You'd be surprised how many bodybuilders I know that are into music. They play an instrument. Like it's almost weird sometimes. I'm like, you play the guitar too? Okay. So there's definitely, and that's the same thing. Guitar is a pain in the ass. When you first start trying to play the guitar, it's such a pain in the ass. And then over time, it just gets easier and easier. And then at a certain point, you can just play whatever you want because you put so much time in. Same with bodybuilding. You suck at first. Like it doesn't matter how hard you prep your first show. After 20, 25 years, it's just so much easier. Like the muscle's there. These delayed gratification things, just like financial. You spend years building up financial freedom, then you just have it. You don't have to stress about money anymore. So yeah, there's an element to that. So those are philosophies that probably suit successful people well. I'm sure somebody wrote a book on how to be successful, and that's got to be in there.
Speaking of the guitar, I can see yours behind you. Where are you at with that? How you doing with the guitar?
I've been playing for 30 years. I basically at this point pick up a song that I'm into, play it till I get sick of it, and move on to the next one. So I could probably gig at this point. I'm not a great singer. I'm an acceptable singer. So for me, it's just about, I'll hear a song on the radio, it'll get in my head, and then I'll just go learn to play it. So yeah.
So that's purely just like for your own enjoyment. That's not like you're not making YouTube videos on that or anything.
No, honestly, like don't laugh. But if you look at my first YouTube videos from 16 years ago, some of them were me trying to learn the guitar. That's actually how my YouTube started, was more like just random guitar videos. Guitar is one of those things like you got to play a little bit every day or it goes away. kind of like the gym. You can't do the gym for 6 months and take 6 months off and still be good at it. Same thing with the guitar. You've got to play. I'm at the point now where I can probably play 10 to 15 minutes a day, but if I want to get better, I probably got to play an hour and a half a day. And when I was first learning, it was like 3 to 4 hours a day, right? So there's a learning curve to it.
Oh, really cool. It's funny. I've looked at your videos from like way back, and you've just reminded me. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing the guitar clips, but that is so cool that even after that many years, you're still doing it. You enjoy it, of course, because if you didn't, you wouldn't, but you didn't just give up. Some people might enjoy something and then they just give up because it's too hard, right? Like that's very common.
I think my affection for things will come and go. Like there are definitely been times in the last 30 years where I was like over the gym, because you kind of feel directionless at a certain point, because there is the law of diminishing returns. I've been training for a long time. So, this is why I like to keep competing. Same thing with guitar. I'll go a couple weeks without playing much. Then I'll play for an hour every day for weeks, right? And I'll just get really good again. And so I'm not going to say like my excitement for things is always the same, but the things that I loved when I was 17, I still love. You can see them all right now. Bodybuilding, guitar, and baseball cards. Those are the things that I grew up loving, and I still have excitement around all of them. So yeah.
That's awesome. How far away from your all-time best would you say that you are right now at 48? And when I say that, I mean, I'm talking about muscularity, development, not so much the ability to get lean, because we know you could do that. Like if you put your mind to it.
I think if I look back to my most muscular physique ever, it was probably that 2018 year. But I also look back to my life back then, and my life was literally go to work, go to the gym, come home. No kids, no pets.
Oh.
I literally probably spent 2 to 2.5 hours a day in the gym. My workouts were freaking bonkers. So I don't think I'll ever approach that level of muscularity again, just because I don't have the time to commit. I literally, when I go to the gym, if I'm there for more like 45 minutes, I'm like, I got to get home. Like, it's like this. I've got responsibilities. I got kids. I got work. I got emails. I got Pro Physique as a whole. It's like, so how far am I off from that? I'd say 5%. I'm pretty close. But I think that extra 5% is, pretty significant. Like, I think I could be a little bit more muscular if I was just a little bit more dedicated to not only the training, but also the nutrition. I'm probably 85% with my nutrition, but I think back to those days and I'm like, man, I was just on it. So
would you ever want to get back to that place as a challenge? Like, not now. You see, when you talk about Doug Miller and these guys, and I'm thinking, okay, you're in a circle where that is like around you all the time. So I can't imagine you wouldn't want to almost challenge yourself. There's that extra bit that you could be doing that it's not a priority right now. You got your business, you got your family, but let's say we take your training right now. The amount of time you're spending in the gym, you mentioned like 45 minutes. How often? Would you say 4 or 5 times a week?
5 days a week without
5 days a week.
I'm not missing. Yeah.
Okay. So if you were trying to get back to that level of development that you had prior, how would that change? Would it just be more time simply? Because the intensity is still there.
Yeah, the power hypertrophy split, the beauty of that workout was that it was a power day for upper and lower. Then it was basically a push-pull. So like on the one day that you're doing, like, let's say the hypertrophy chest and back day, which was like Thursdays for me, that's a solid 90 minutes, right? 4 sets of 12 on incline bench, and then 4 sets of 12 on bent over rows, and then 3 sets of 10 on flat dumbbells, and then 3 sets of 10 on pull-ups. So you're going back and forth on these movements that are very demanding. And I would take, 2-3 minutes rest between sets because I was strong. Like I was, incline dumbbell pressing 130s for high reps. It's in my YouTube videos, right?
Yeah, I saw that.
Like I'm not doing a set for 2 or 3 minutes after that. So those workouts, the power hypertrophy style of training, the hypertrophy days were extremely grueling, a lot of volume, which means a lot of rest between sets. So those leg days would take me 2 hours just because of the rest involved. I remember doing one prep. I remember doing 10 sets of 10 on hack squats, and that would take me by itself an hour. That would take me 1 hour.
That's already half the workout.
And then I've still got to do some deadlifts and some extensions and curls. But if you train with Doug or Layne, they're still doing the same things. When I trained with Doug in North Carolina a couple weeks ago, or now it's a couple months, we got to the gym at 7:30. We didn't stop training till 9:30.
Okay. So yeah, he's in there for some time.
He has set up his life. He has bought and built a gym. Yeah, like that's his life. He gets up, goes to work, works out, takes a shower. He's in the office. Like he's built his life around that. I just don't have that drive that he has to still train like that. The thing that I've come to realize is that if you push your body beyond its limits, which our brain can do, you can go beyond your limits. You can break your own arm. You can do whatever you want to yourself if your brain will let you go there. So with competitors, we accept, hey, this is going to be hard. So when it gets really hard, we just go, well, this is normal. Instead of going harder, if you just pull back for a couple days or maybe a week, your body goes,